$8,500 by Friday, or the old ladies on the street. I crumple the paper. 91 years old, heart condition. This is security? He adjusts his cheap uniform. Progress costs. She's obsolete. I step closer. Funny, my body cam says extortion. Sirens wail in the distance. He flinches. You bluffing? I don't blink. FBI doesn't do bluff calls. I stood frozen, heart pounding, as my 91-year-old grandmother, Eleanor, crumpled into her armchair, tears carving paths down her weathered cheeks. 3 armed security guards loomed over her, their black boots planted like statues on the hardwood floor. Their tactical vests radiated menace in the sweltering 98-degree heat. Pay the $8,500 special assessment by Friday or you're out, one barked, rifling through her medication tray like he was searching for contraband. They didn't know who they were dealing with. She wasn't just a frail widow of a Korean War veteran. She was Eleanor Davis, matriarch of Maple Grove Estates. And I wasn't just her grandson. I was a former Army Ranger with 10 years of counterintelligence under my belt, and I had just been activated. What followed would rock our quiet community and unravel a scheme so vile it made my years overseas look tame. Eleanor and Walter, her husband, bought the land back in 1962, before there were street names or streetlights, before the word HOA meant anything. They built their home board by board with Walter's Navy pension and a loan from a fellow veteran. The house was modest but proud, white siding trimmed with navy blue, a front porch swing that creaked with memories, and a backyard oak Walter planted the day he returned from Korea. It was where they raised their son, buried a dog, hosted holidays, and built a legacy. Now she lived alone, stubborn and serene. Despite her arthritis and a heart condition, she volunteered at the VA hospital every week, reading books to blind veterans. Her roses, twice featured in the local paper, bloomed in precise rows outside the porch. She paid her bills on time. She walked to church when she could. Maple Grove wasn't just her neighborhood, it was her home, and the neighbors loved her. Mrs. Larson across the street brought over casseroles every Thursday. The Carter twins shoveled her walk without being asked. Mr. Gomez picked her up for Sunday service, and their tradition was as old as the choir itself. Then Victor Grayson arrived, a former investment banker turned self-proclaimed community revitalization expert. He bought 3 properties and declared himself savior of the subdivision. His teeth were too white, his suits too tailored, his tone too smooth. He staged a stealth HOA coup during snowbird season, when half the elderly residents were in Florida. With a 14% turnout, his private slate of candidates took over the board. The new regime moved fast. Out went the community potlucks and free jazz nights. In came the bylaws, thick as encyclopedias and unreadable to most. Out went the retired sheriff who offered friendly patrols and wellness checks. In came Premier Protection Services, a private security firm run by Grayson's former frat brother. The new guards weren't just visible, they were omnipresent. SUVs with tinted windows parked outside homes for hours. Flashlights scanned porches at 2 a.m. Compliance sweeps, they called them. Then came Maple Grove 2.0, Grayson's glossy vision of a luxury community with gates, fountains, and uniform beige mailboxes. At the unveiling meeting, when 82-year-old Mrs. Thompson raised her hand to ask about financial hardship exemptions, Grayson chuckled and said, "Some communities outgrow their residents. That's just how progress works." That was the first warning. The second came when the HOA dropped a letter on every doorstep. $8,500 emergency infrastructure assessment, due in 60 days. No payment plans, no exceptions. It was a heavy ask for anyone. For seniors on fixed incomes, it was a calculated purge. Eleanor received her first violation within days. Mailbox 1.5 inches below community standard. Fine $1,250. Then her flag, folded meticulously each evening, was deemed non-compliant for flying before 6 a.m. Her garden hose, improperly coiled. Another $1,250. How does a garden hose become a crime? She whispered to me, voice shaking. Security began monitoring her visitors. Her church group received parking tickets for stopping in her driveway. Her Meals on Wheels driver was interrogated for 20 minutes. Her medication delivery was intercepted. Guards claiming they needed to verify controlled substances. Then one night, after her Social Security check had just hit her account, 3 guards knocked loudly at 10:47 p.m. "Time to settle your debt, ma'am," one said. She was alone, shaking, her heart racing. The next morning, her water pressure dropped to a dribble. The HOA had installed a flow restrictor under a newly amended conservation clause. Without water, her heart medication couldn't be safely administered. She didn't call me. She didn't want to burden me. Instead, she walked, with a jug to the church to fetch water from a spigot, hunched in pain from osteoporosis. Mrs. Larson saw her collapse outside and called me immediately. I moved in that night, and I started listening, literally. I found a small voice recorder hidden inside a plastic plant in her kitchen. Disguised like a home air freshener, what it recorded made my blood run cold. "She'll cave. Heart meds aren't cheap. Miss a few payments and we've got her. Lot 104 is perfect for duplex conversion. Keep the pressure on." They weren't just harassing her. They were hunting her. I set up covert cameras in her garden gnomes, inside the porch light, and even in a ceramic rooster in the kitchen. What I uncovered was worse than I imagined. The $2.1 million infrastructure project funded no visible repairs. Instead, it financed shady acquisitions. 14 senior-owned homes purchased at 40 to 60% below market value by a shell corporation tied to Grayson's associate. Their plan? Bulldoze and build luxury condos, then resell them with active adult amenities. I wasn't alone. Mrs. Callahan, 83, had been fined for wind chimes. Mr. Rivera, a disabled Vietnam vet, was cited for his service dog. Mrs. Park, 88, said her grandson's bicycle got a $500 violation notice. One resident, Mr. Daniels, had been dragged out of a board meeting for questioning budget transparency. His cane was confiscated. The video showed him crawling across the parking lot. Another woman's emergency lifeline device was quietly disconnected during a smoke detector inspection. This wasn't mismanagement. It was criminal elder abuse. Then came Emily, the whistleblower. A 27-year-old security tech hired by Premier Protection. She joined believing she was helping keep retirees safe. Instead, she leaked internal memos. Accelerate compliance against high-cost residents. Prioritize Lot 104. Medication costs equals financial leverage. Operation Granny Flush. We had our proof, but we needed power. At a secret meeting inside the VFW hall, 37 residents and their families gathered, some in walkers, some holding folders stuffed with letters, fines, and broken trust. We formed the Maple Grove Alliance. We documented every incident, organized carpool surveillance, and reached out to an investigative journalist, state regulators, and the FBI. When the HOA called a mandatory meeting to shame non-payers, we came prepared. We wired our elderly neighbors with audio recorders. We positioned cell phone cameras behind hymnals and inside flower brooches. We brought 2 attorneys and a retired judge. Then came the final blow. 3 guards barged into Eleanor's home unannounced at dawn. Commander Vance, a towering buzz-cut man with tactical gloves, waved a lean notice like a battle flag. "You have 72 hours to vacate," he barked. She trembled, clutching the couch for balance. I stepped between them. "This is elder abuse," I said. Vance leaned in. "She's out. This place is moving on. Nobody's coming to save her." I didn't blink. "I don't need a cavalry. I brought the feds." Black SUVs rolled in like thunderclouds. FBI agents, state investigators, news vans. Neighbors streamed onto their porches. Phones captured everything. Inside the HOA clubhouse, I laid out evidence. Recordings, bank transfers, property deeds, and Emily's memo cache. This wasn't enforcement. It was a hostile acquisition strategy targeting the vulnerable, I told them. Grayson arrived in a golf cart mid-interrogation. "You'll hear from my lawyers," he spat. "You'll hear from 62 seniors and the U.S. attorney," I shot back. Grayson and his board were indicted. Premier protection was dismantled. Fines were voided. Properties were returned or reimbursed. Grayson's assets, including 2 yachts and a French chalet, were seized to fund restitution. Eleanor testified before a packed courtroom. Her words were steady. "We build our homes not for profit, but for peace. We don't want granite countertops. We want dignity." The judge called it one of the worst betrayals of the elderly ever prosecuted. Record sentences followed. Today, Eleanor chairs the new resident-led HOA. Her first act was passing the Eleanor Rule, mandating senior protections, accessible appeals, and financial hardship exemptions. Recovered funds now support a home repair fund and medical assistance program. The Maple Grove Protection Act, modeled after our case, passed statewide, guaranteeing transparency in HOA governance and outlawing predatory assessments. And those roses, they still bloom beneath the oak tree Walter planted, beside the flagpole he raised. But now they bloom in a community reborn, not in fear, but in unity. If this story moved, you don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful true stories. Your support allows us to keep delivering valuable insights and stories that inform and inspire people everywhere. Thank you for watching Work Story, and see you in the next one.